Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
Hey, it is Loving Me Before I Love You. Y'all know it's Transformation Tuesday. Have you ever caught yourself reacting and not responding and thought, wait, this isn't even me? You're not yelling, but your silence is loud. You're not angry, but your body is tense. You're not broken, but something in you keeps bracing for impact. That's not attitude. That's history living in your nervous system. See, family wounds don't always come from what happened. Sometimes they come from what never did. The apology that never came, the protection that never showed up, the love that was conditional, inconsistent, and quietly withheld. And somewhere along the way, you learned how to survive it. You learned how to be strong. You learned how to shrink. You learned how to keep the peace, even if it cost you your voice. But here's the part nobody tells you. Healing doesn't mean pretending your family didn't hurt you. And breaking cycles doesn't mean breaking yourself in the process. So this episode is for women who is done bleeding on people who didn't cut her. For the women who wants to do the work without becoming bitter. For the woman who says, it stops with me, but I still deserve softness. It's Transformation Tuesday here at Loving Me Before I Love You. And again, I am Coach Tammy Nicole. I help women reclaim their voice, their worth, and their power so that they can stand in clarity, confidence, and courage. Today, we're talking about family wounds, how they show up in your relationship, your parenting, your boundaries, and your self-talk, and how to break cycles without losing you. You don't want to lose you. And guess what? Y'all know I don't ever do a show by myself. Let me not say ever, because y'all do know I give y'all my solo time every once in a while. But because healing isn't all about becoming cold and it's about becoming free, I have someone here to share it with me. And her name is Jay. And I actually, TikTok is my new best friend because I meet a lot of new people. And I have met her through her content on TikTok, and I love her content. I love that she's free and just living her best life, showing us that she can have a soft life and be unapologetic about it. And I feel like when we are learning how to break free from family wounds and want to live a soft life, that you should talk to somebody that does it already, right? Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole, first for that introduction. You was about to make me cry over here. I was like, woo, okay, hold on, not yet. We want to get a little bit further into this. But thank you so much. And thank you for seeing me, right? Because that's what the journey was when I even started on TikTok, was allowing myself to be seen, which is a part of my healing process. It's okay to be seen, which, you learn those, as you say, is that response in you to hide, to shrink, so everybody else can be and you can't. And me living the soft life on TikTok was me stepping into who I am unapologetically, and everyone else around with it, they got to deal with it. But doing it softly, you know what I mean? Not bulldozing over people.
Absolutely. I don't think a lot of times we even understand what the soft life really even means. I think it is a buzzword that has gone out when women decided they no longer wanted to do all of the heavy lifting. Like when we think about living life the hard way, it's more like us being super aggressive, living in our masculine energy, doing things that we feel like we really shouldn't be doing. And so now that soft life has become this new buzzword, it's like everybody wants to do it. but nobody really talks about the process of getting there. And most people want to live a soft life when it comes to relationship, but not just a soft life, period. And I
Mm-hmm.
really think we should be living soft lives, period.
Mm-hmm.
Man or no man, significant
Mm-hmm.
other or not. Um, and I want to talk about that. And I think that it honestly does start with the family. And the reason I feel like it starts with the family is because that's where we learned how to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not,
Um,
it's the foundation, shall I say.
it it is the absolute foundation, and it could be a double-edged sword to that
Let's talk about
foundation.
it.
Um, for me, it was a double-edged sword, whereas my family is my foundation, it's my core, it's who I am, it's who you guys see, it's who shows up, but it's also who shows up. Right? Because it's great and it's wonderful as my family is. You know, those things that nobody talk about, but you may hear whispers, or nobody speaks up about. Those things live under there too. So that's what I mean by, like, it's a double-edged sword, and me realizing that certain things have to stop with me, and the only way they're going to change is with me, and the only way that the generations after me can change is if I change, and no longer hide. And I have been through so much. I don't even know if we have enough time to even for me to go through all of it to even show or you guys see how I even got to living totally healed in a soft life. That's the difference. You can live a soft life, but that doesn't mean you're living a healed life. It is a difference because there's peace in that soft life than just, oh, I'm just gonna sit here and be cute and don't do the heavy lifting and is your spirit healed?
Mm-hmm.
Is your soul healed? Have you come to terms with the things that you didn't want to look at about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
with the hurt that you've had? Have you reckoned with the people in your life about it? Or are you still hiding it and traumatized from it? And you're basically that soft life is a front. So it's that's layered when it comes to my family. And I've had to deal with some of those traumas with my mom, with my dad, with my extended family,
Mm-hmm.
with my children, because that's something we don't talk about.
You heard me
That's
mention
something we don't talk about.
you heard me mention it comes in parenting too. Like your family is your family, all inclusive, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
just, mom, dad, cousins, siblings that I was raised with that caused the trauma. Some of the family trauma happened even in adulthood. And I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we misconstrue the wounds with only childhood, like your wounds only come from when you were younger and they're
Mm-hmm.
manifested in your adult life. No, some of it happened in adult life because it repeated itself, but it repeated itself with different members. And
Mm-hmm.
so it added to a different wound, but we don't think about it. We don't talk about it. We just kind of like move. So when you start that healing process, a lot of us start the process from a double-edged sword,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you started from the wound of a child and the recent wound in adult life.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
that was for me. And to be completely bare and honest, God set me down last year. That's just my story. I tell everyone I was so broken. I would tell people I feel like a dried, cracked cup with nothing in
mm,
it. And I had to literally take time off my job. It's about 3 months. And I sat on my front porch because I was broken. Because, as you said, from those traumas, from those unhealed places, I was so used to being a giver because
mhm,
that's what I was taught, right? Is it a good thing? Yes, but that was that double edged sword thing. Yes, I should be a giver, but I shouldn't let people use me, or I shouldn't give out so much that I have nothing left for myself. And that's what I operated out of for a lot of years. We ain't gonna say my age, but a lot of years until my body
mm.
and my brain said no more. And I thought I was losing it. I thought, like, okay, I've finally cuckoo's nest, some is not right. And I had to sit literally on my porch from June of 2024 to September. No, 2024 to September of 2024. And I had to sit there and stare at the birds and make decisions on who I am, who I'm going to be, what I'm going to allow to keep dictating who I am and how I move.
Mm-hmm.
And am I going to, and it's not easy for everybody when I say this, am I going to forgive certain people and work myself through that healing? Or am I going to hold on to that? And holding on to it or not addressing it had me on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and just dried out. Like, just, my husband was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I felt like I couldn't hear God. And I wouldn't want nobody in that space. Like, I was like, I can't even hear him. I felt so disconnected from myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, God, you got to do something. I don't know what we're going to do, but I don't even feel like you're with me anymore. And I didn't do nothing. So it was a really hard place to get from there to here.
No one talks about the journey of pouring from an empty cup when it was already empty to begin with, but when it has dried itself to that level that there can't even be any more pouring.
Mm-mm.
And
Like,
that's
I got
exactly the
dropped less.
space it's now. Right. That's exactly where it sounds where you were. But we don't talk about it. We pour from empty cups all the time because we don't go and replenish ourselves. We don't go and refuel. And we're just giving what we don't have.
Yeah. Which is why my word for 2026 is overflow. And it is moving through this year only giving out of my overflow. Because one, I feel like I'm in a place where I have overflow again. So that's number one. Because last year, you wouldn't get nothing out of me because I ain't got it. I'm still trying to work it through. 2026, I now have overflow, but I'm only going to give out of that. And even on top of that, my mindset is, God, I'm going to give out of your overflow because yours is bigger than mine. And I don't have, if you can't do it, it ain't gonna be done. So that is another thing. So 2026 for me is overflow and learning even what that looks like and teaching my husband, teaching my kids, my family, my job, what that looks like from me. And this is who you're gonna get. I'm gonna show up and be who I am. I'm still gonna be loving and stuff, but you're only, if it can't come from my overflow, it can't come. So sorry. Cause I'm not going back on that porch. I'm not for nobody. So,
And that's a real thing though. I think a lot of times we don't have that as a thing to look forward to because some of us don't even look at our broken spaces as real places of like, don't go back. Right. We look at them as temporary spots once we come out of it. I always think and I always take this to a person that's like has been financially broke, right?
mhm,
They don't have no money today. They get money, then you turn around, they ain't got no money tomorrow
mhm,
because they don't have the mindset of, I can't go back to that spot. That spot becomes comfort. That spot becomes okay to be in. Yes, I'm happy when I get more money and I'm not broke, but I'm also okay being there. And I think a lot of us find comfort in the brokenness.
because we've learned
So,
that's the only place we can be. That's what's comfortable. That's what's safe. And that in
mhm,
itself is like, okay, how we figure this out? Because if that's safe, but I want to flip that is when you learn how to live outside of that,
mhm,
that can be scary. And I've had to, and I think I talked about it on one of my videos of even having to sit in the middle of a mall. Like, wait, like, I don't know how to accept yes.
mhm,
And when you figure that out, like, huh? Where did that come from? But I don't know how to accept yes because I've always had to operate out of no. Or like you
mhm,
said, being broken or broke.
mhm. Right.
So
So
it's a
I
lot.
100% that I get that 100% because I think for a lot of us, your nervous system is about protecting you, right?
Hmm.
And whatever you're used to, whatever the comfort zone is, it'll keep you there. So most of us don't move beyond or into the good thing or into the good area of life because we're afraid of what that really is. We're afraid of what it feels like. It's like, I kind of want that, but I don't really know how to accept it. I think about those of us that have been in bad relationships. When the good one comes along, we mess it up because we just like, they always used to saying too good to be true, but we mess it up because it's like, something ain't right here. But it be the fact that it's just simply good, that it's just simply something that you deserve. And it's like, I deserve it, but I'm not sure I can handle it. And a lot of times, as they say, we fumble the situation simply because we just we don't know what it feels like. And that's why I'm always stressing, give yourself the feeling you want.
Okay, sorry. It's my mother.
It's okay. Give yourself the feeling that you want. You have to give it to you. Therefore, you recognize it when it comes from somebody else. But we're so busy we want what we think versus what we know.
I would say it's so much in what you just said. And I can't say this for me because I understand both sides of that coin. And I think that was me. Going back to the root of the family is where a lot of that starts, right? I came up in a family where I was able to see what family should look like and how it should function and how it can function, I would say fairly normally, right? Good upbringing, two-parent home, like all of that. I saw that. However, in my mother's and father's dynamic, that's not how it was. So it was like, I can say I always had the knowledge and the vision to say, I'm broken here from my father and I'm seeking this because I'm seeking something because I missed it. But I also saw how my grandfather loved on my grandmother. I saw how my aunts and my uncles loved on each like it. And so I think for me, I had been able to work my way and see those things because I had references, if that makes sense, to know where I'm operating out of is not a good space. Also, holding a mirror up to yourself and saying, I'm broken. I'm broken. And I didn't know I was broken for a long time. I thought, oh, no, I got over that. That doesn't bother me anymore, blah, blah, blah. Baby, you've been broken so long, you don't even know you're broken no more. It's just normal. It's just normal. Until I had to be like, none of it is normal. Even the good stuff that you thought you saw, some of that wasn't normal either. Like, so.
When did you have that epiphany?
The first time I had the epiphany was I was in a relationship that was toxic. And I'm like, what most women go through, we know is toxic and we just keep, I'll change them, whatever. My grandfather was in the midst of passing. So my family was taking turns sitting with him so he would not be alone. I saw this gentle giant cry out for his wife with his last breaths and try to get himself, I think you talking about somebody that was like 6'3", 6'4", was down to about 130 pounds, trying to wrestle to get to her. And I was like, that's when, was like, that's love. He knows I got maybe about 20 more breaths. But I want to talk to her, see her, kiss her one more time. And I was like, that was the first time. That was about 11 years ago when something. Now, did it take hold? Did I change real quick? All that? No. But it was the first time I realized you're worth it. That was the seed. You are worth it. And you want somebody to love you like that. Not that list. Y'all know we do the list. He got to be 6'5", he got to be this. I want this. He got to have $1 billion. No. In that moment, God showed me what real unconditional love was. And then I was like, I want that. What do I need to do to get that? And I literally, in those moments of watching him and trying to get him to get back in that bed, asked God, God, if I won't ask you nothing else, if you could just give me this. What I didn't know was it was going to be some changes that had to be made in me for those things
First.
to happen.
Oh, let's
And
talk
then
about
that's
that.
right. It was going to be some things in me that I was going to first. I had to acknowledge that I was actually worth it. I
And
had to
believe
accept
it.
it. You see what I'm saying?
And,
I
and,
had to
and believe it. Yeah.
accept it. Like, out of all my things that I had been through, you were a teenage mom, you were this, you were that. I had to actually be like, it don't matter. I'm worth it. I'm worth someone loving. Even though my father left my home, which is, I tell people that was the first time a man ever broke my heart. You know what I mean? So, but I had to be like, no, I am worth it. I'm worth, like, this man is trying to, we're fighting him. And he like, I got to get to her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the first step was seeing that. The second step was, you're worth it. And I had to tell myself that you are worth it. And sometimes you got to speak to yourself. I had made a video before. So I speak affirmations over myself. I speak the word of God over myself. You know, the Bible says, bring it back to his remembrance. Guess what? You got to remind yourself too. Because you bringing it
Absolutely.
back to his remembrance also reminds you, but you also have to speak life into yourself. And I
Wow, today's episode is a good one. I know you're enjoying it, and we'll get back to it shortly. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that Tammy would love for you to share any questions, comments, or topic ideas you have with her. All you have to do is send them to her in an email to podcast@IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
had to be like, I am worth it. You know, I am worth it. I know how to cook. I know how to clean. I know how to go out and make money and do these things. And I know I would make a good wife. I know I would do this. Okay. Once I start realizing I knew how, then it was like, okay, but what is it about me that's causing men to react to me this way? Or what's causing life to react to me this way? What am I doing? And that's what a lot of people don't want to say. They don't want to know what they did wrong. They don't want to admit what they did wrong. They don't want to say it out loud. My mouth is ignorant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I had, yeah. Like, yeah, you want that. But if a man told you what to do, you probably tear him up from sundown to sun and tell me you don't tell me what to do. Why? Because you got daddy issues. You don't want nobody telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I had
Absolutely.
to,
Which goes back to the family wound, right? Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I had to start, it was like slow little drips of little things and being ready and in a space to look at them. Because you can want these things, but if you're not in a space to look at it and receive the healing and receive it, it can happen, but it's going to be a really slow process. I got to be open enough for that healing that I have to look at all the traumas, all the pain, all the hurt, all the everything. I had learned again from my father leaving to operate out of sight, out of mind. And I didn't know that was a thing. And it was my sister, my little sister, who brought it to mind. She was like, you do know you just, like, you don't call people, even my kids, you don't call us, you don't this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I talked to you. It was like, nah, if you don't see us, you like, and I was like, I had to think about that. Like, why am I like that? Because he taught me I couldn't depend on people. He taught me not to expect them.
Yeah.
And just keep moving. And I was like, oh, so now I make it a point to reach out. If I haven't heard from somebody, I make it a point to call. I make it a point. I had to start building practices to where it just became normal for me to do, which at first it was not normal. It was not. And I didn't realize, I'm like, how long I've been not? My sister was like, as long as I know you. You definitely out of sight, out of mind. I was like, oh, dang.
Yeah, and that does really come from people that abandon or absenteeism. It is definitely a result of that because you
Mm-hmm.
are dependent upon who actually shows up, who's actually present. You're not there. I'm not going to worry about the fact that you're not there. I used to, and probably do still a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I was always the one reaching out
Mm-hmm.
because for me, it was about letting people know that I was present.
Okay.
Then I grew and I was like, you know what? I also matter. I also should be one that's getting checked up on. I should not always just do the checking.
Mm-hmm.
But it made me feel, retrospectfully, it made me feel important that they even answered the phone.
Okay.
That makes sense. So it's like, but and my dad wasn't there for me either. Not until after my mom passed, and it still wasn't regular, but he still left that imprint of I'm out or I'm coming and I'm not going to show up or I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
send you this and then it don't come. And, all of the promises without any real results behind it, like no follow
Mm-hmm.
through, which led me to always feel like I had to only depend on me. And when I'm only depending on me, that means even when I'm interacting with other people. So it's like, well, I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm calling. They don't have to call me because I'm calling, right? I'm dependent
Mm-hmm.
upon myself to make sure that this particular connection actually works. Then you grow, you heal, and you understand, no, you're worth somebody else checking on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when they don't,
And that's
it's
why
okay.
it listen, and I probably know that more than most, but I still be trying to check on people. Because I also think it's funny how we have that similar thing with our fathers, but how it manifests is different.
Yep.
It's the same
Yep.
reason for the manifestation,
Mm-hmm.
but how yours is I'm going to call on people. Mine was, okay, I don't hear from you, fine. Like,
Yep.
because I learned that I got to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be still. Because then it was on top of that, I'm a teenage mom. I became a mother at 14. It is what it is. And it was, I didn't have the childhood everybody else had. I got to keep
Mm-hmm.
moving. And I remember my grandmother saying this, and it again, trauma and strength all
Mm-hmm.
together. She told me, "Mama's baby, daddy's maybe." And when I tell you, I held that like a Bible verse for the longest, because what it in my mind it was, I have to do no matter what. I ain't got time
Everything.
for tears. I ain't got time to cry. I ain't got time to stop. I ain't got time to check on you. I ain't got time to see if you doing. I ain't got time
Right.
because I got to take care of these babies. But in the same note, that's not what we supposed to be operating out of. And I know why she did it. I knew it was out of actual love and concern. And she just wanted to make sure, like, hey, this is your responsibility. This is what happened. You can do it. I know now that's where she came from.
Mm-hmm.
But realizing I had a daddy who wouldn't show up, now I may got a baby daddy who ain't gonna show up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need none of y'all. In my head, I got my mama, my sister, that's all I need. And even with them, if they didn't show up, I still gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Which my son, my dad, my sons would say, you was hard. And I didn't even realize how hard I had become. They was like, Ma, you was hard. Like, is you our mama or our daddy? And I said, you know what? I can confidently say it now, probably for the first 15, 16, maybe 18 years, I was your daddy. Because I thought I had to be. Because I'm raising 4 boys. And y'all dads was in, out, in. You got to get it from somewhere. And that was my protection. So I didn't get hurt. So now it's all. So now I tell them, I know y'all got trauma. I know I'm a part of it. Thank God he put me in a spot that if you need me to pay for therapy, I will. I will.
Absolutely.
Because I know you need it. I need it. I'm in there. So I already know.
And even being able to acknowledge that, because we're talking about family wounds and how we can break away from them without breaking ourselves. But at the same time, even being a contributing factor to the family wound of someone else, right? Like, as you just mentioned, like being a contributing factor to your kids and the trauma that they may have experienced. You're like, oh no, I know I did that. You know, I'm apologetic for it. However,
Hmm.
I know it exists. And because I know it exists, I'm also saying, go handle that. You know,
Hmm.
I'm
And that,
having to handle mines. I'm gonna need you to go handle that.
and that comes from trauma because my mother would never admit anything.
Mm,
So, you know how you talked about breaking those generational things,
yeah.
right? She came from the generation of, kids are seen and not heard. You don't speak up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And she brought that into her parenting, which I'm not going to say it was wrong. I will never take. She gave me what she could give me, and I'm
Right. What
I'm
she
okay
could.
with it. But then I was like, I would never do that to my
Mm-hmm.
children. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. I'll be the first one to admit it or whatever. So I had already knew, like, one, I was a baby raising babies. How would I not make mistakes?
Right.
It's just inevitable that I'm going to make mistakes. But me constantly
Absolutely.
seeing the mistakes, apologizing to them came out of my own brokenness and trauma so they wouldn't have that brokenness and trauma. Like me constantly telling them I love them, whispering in their ears at night so they knew that they were loved, so they knew their self-worth, me telling them how handsome they was, so they would have it subconsciously came out of
Mm-hmm.
my own brokenness because of what I wasn't getting
Mm-hmm.
and trying to help some of those break some of those generational things.
Yeah.
Open communication and dialogue with them so they could come and talk to me. Why? Because I did not have that. Because my mama was very much you do what I say and that's it. And I'm like, but I need to talk to you. Maybe I wouldn't have had these kids if you just talked to me. That's a whole nother, baby. That's like 10 episodes right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, she gave me what she had. And I tell everybody the best thing she ever gave me was Jesus and having my own relationship with Christ. Because when she couldn't parent, I had God to lean on. When I didn't have my father, I had God to lean on. When I didn't have no husband, I had God to lean on. So even in my brokenness, I had something to lean into that could help me heal. So, and I know everybody don't have that. I wish they did. I'm not knocking nobody for what they believe because I believe you should believe in something, please. But for me, that's what helped me heal is having that relationship with Christ and being like, okay, you can show me my ugliness because I see it and it's not, and I don't want to keep walking like this when I know I can be better. It can be better. Life can be better. My children can be better. They deserve to see a healed mom. And they
Yeah.
get to experience her now, and they're like, who are you? Where'd you
Yeah.
come from?
Absolutely. I think a lot of times, I even wrote a book when it comes to being a single mom, having self-love, and breaking generational trauma. I did that because the epitome of children being happy, healthy, and whole starts and ends with their mom being happy, healthy, and whole. We don't realize how much impact and influence we have on kids, regardless of what the relationship is. They are watching, even if they say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They are absorbing, even if they say nothing. So when you are happy, they are happy. You are the blueprint. As a mom, you are the blueprint for how they are going to live life. And everybody will
Mm-hmm.
argue up and down. That's not true. They disobey me. They disrespect me. Da, da, da. They're still getting all of those things from you. And people's like, I don't do those things, but technically you do. You just don't realize that it's happening because it's not so blatant. It's the subtleties, the disrespect you give to yourself. When you don't follow through on the word that you gave to yourself, when you talk nasty to yourself, they see it, they hear it, they are absorbing it, and then they do it. And they're saying, well, you don't love or respect yourself. Why am I loving and respecting you? And you're like, what they say, do as I say, not as I do, or, all these different things. It's like, no. You have to live it out in order for them to live it out. I used to counsel this lady, and her biggest gripe was that her kids didn't like her or didn't love her or didn't respect her, but they would love and respect her husband. And I say, I bet your husband do what he says for himself all the time. I bet your husband walks in the truth that he proclaims. And she started thinking about it. And ultimately, she came back. She was like, I think you're right. I said, okay, so let's start with you doing you. Let's start with you focus on you. Get up and get dressed. They talk about you laying around the house looking like yesterday. Get up and get dressed. Do something for yourself. Don't just keep woe is meing it, And over time, she started to see them change without her having to say anything. And I said, yes, because they are getting their cue from you.
What I learned, and I sit on the porch. I sat on that porch. I don't want to sit on the porch anymore. I thank God for that, though, because even with what you said, one of my sons is going through something right now. And I was just listening to him. And I could see, I said, okay, I taught him that. He saw that from me, that I can't stop, won't stop. I got to keep grinding. I got to keep moving. I got to get it. I got to take care of my family. Because I was like, where's you getting this from? Because he kept going to the hospital, blood pressure high. I'm like, where's you getting this from? Why is you acting like that? When I tell you, the Holy Spirit said, you, his daddy, but it was you. And he had even said, he was like, well, Ma, you kept grinding. You ain't never give up with us. I got to take care of my family. I don't want my family to, have to go through what you was going. And I said, oh. And I had to tell him, hey, what I did was not right. It was necessary at the time, but it was not right. I would never take it back.
It looked like I found it necessary to do.
Yeah,
but it may not
I
even
found
be.
it necessary, but that was not for you. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry that I taught you that. Teaching you how to take care of your family, okay. Teaching you how to go out and work and make sure you could take care of your family, okay. But to the point of you running to this hospital every 5 seconds like you having a heart attack because you're doing too much. That's not the seed I was trying to sow. Yeah. That's not it, baby. Like you wearing yourself out. How would you feel if now, because you don't want your daughter to grow up without her father, she still winds up growing up without her father. And that hit him. He was like, wait, what? I said, think about it. She may not grow up because you in the home trying to do all of the things, but what if you stroke out? What if something happened and you got to take you out of here? She still don't have it.
Yeah.
He said, oh, my.
Understanding your capacity is important.
I was like, so healed me now gets to pour into them. And I get to pour into them from a relationship that is more of a friendship, and we can talk about it and ask me anything, and I can tell them I'm sorry when I need to, and they hear me more, and they're just like, thank you. And I can now even help heal some of the wounds that I know that I caused, and even some of the ones I didn't even realize was a wound. Like they didn't realize it, and neither or not I did until I was like, huh? Wait, what?
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty part of it, to be honest. It's like you've been able to go through your own healing process, and then God gives you a second chance to do it for your kids. It's like, now I can re-pour what I've gained, as you said, in your out of your overflow into them, so that they don't have to go through that healing process at the same level or the extent that you did.
Yeah. or it take as long as mine too.
Yeah. They moved a little faster, just a little bit,
They were
not
there a
too
little bit
much.
quicker.
But that technically does rely on them. Like, how much are they really going to be receptive to? I always say, like, the change happens when the belief catches up to the
Mm-hmm.
idea. A lot of us want something to be different so bad, but we like can't really believe it's possibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can see it because you've experienced it and you've gone through it, and I'm like, oh, I could see that, and I'm like, oh, that looks like that was cool. But when it comes to yourself, it's always difficult to like take the step. So you talked about your word being overflow. My word is execution for
Mm-hmm.
this year. It's
Okay.
like, just do it. Not being so hell bent on it being done right. I
Mm-hmm.
always say done is better than perfect. And so you coming into this space of like breaking free from family wounds and still being you without breaking yourself, it's a real, real thing. If you think back to being on the porch and
Mm-hmm.
you're able to tell people, these are the steps that I took. Because a lot of times people are listening and they're saying, oh, she just sat on the porch. She just sat with herself. She didn't, what did you do on that porch?
Every morning. So I did have things that the therapist suggested, okay, for me to do because I was having panic attacks really bad too. But every morning I would get up, I would grab my cup of coffee, and I would go sit on the porch. And before I would get on my phone, talk to anybody, do anything, I would read my word.
Mhm.
I would read my word. That would be the first thing I did. It could be a random thing. I'd be like, okay, God, where you want me? And I would just read it. Whether it applied to me or not, I would just read it. Right. Because again, that comes from my Christian upbringing, my background or whatever. So I would do that. Then the therapist had told me, count 10. It's an exercise that you can do if you're having panic attacks to get you to
Mhm.
focus and breathe. And I would count backwards from 10. But instead of, they would say, oh, 10, I see a bird over here. 9, I see the car over there. No, I would say 10, Lord, I thank you for my children. 9, I thank you for my husband. And I would go all the way down. But 1 would always be, Lord, I thank you, I'm healed. Until it just started slowly over time doing the thing. But when I noticed maybe about a few weeks into doing that, little things start bubbling up that I didn't realize what I was still holding on to.
Mm.
It's like he was like, okay, now you can hear me. Now I
Mm.
can show you. Now you're ready to see you. And that's what was it. That's why I said you also have to be ready to be healed because you have to look at you. You can't look
100%.
at everybody else and what they did to you. You also have to look at you.
Facts.
Like you do. Because then when you look at you, it gives you the space and the grace to look at everybody else. Because what you realize is they human just like you.
Mhm.
They're flawed just like you. My mom gave me what she had to give and she was what she was given is what she gave. How
Facts.
can I be mad if she only gave me what she had? How can
Right.
I keep holding on to what my dad did or didn't do if because it gave me the space to think about things clearly. I remember how my grandmother was with him. I remember how my grandfather was. I remember that home was broken and all of the things. He could only give me what he had. And it
Right.
wasn't to be a dad. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm okay with that. Like, did it hurt? Did it cause some trauma? Yeah. Am I going to keep holding on to that? And now I'm sitting on the porch. Now it's affecting my children. Now it's affecting my husband. Now it's affecting me. I got to love me more than I love everybody else.
Absolutely.
I got to love me more than I hate the person, whoever I'm holding a grudge against.
Absolutely.
Because guarantee you, I love my daddy, but my daddy was out there living his best life. Okay.
Right.
While bound up,
While
making
you
stupid
was
decisions,
suffering.
chasing men, doing all this,
Yeah.
he was out there living his best whole life.
Facts.
And
Facts.
I'm like,
I think we don't take into account that the grudges, the hurt, all of the things that we take and put into a bottle and sit on and think about, drink from all the time, the only person really suffering, even though other people had participation in
Mm-hmm.
the hurt, they not suffering because they didn't moved on. They didn't went on about their life. You keep drinking from the cup of hurt. You keep drinking from that pain bottle. And instead of you deciding that you matter enough to let it go and to heal and forgive and to move, like, you're the only one sitting there, like, dwelling in the spot when you can be moving forward, living the best life you want to live for the remainder of the life you have lived.
Yeah. And I've seen that in my family real account on what that looks like,
Mhm.
of living in that unforgiveness. And I have, again, it's my dad's side, Lord Jesus, but I have aunts who have just reveled in it. Like they don't know how to let it go. That's just, like you said, it's where they're comfortable at.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I love them, but I'm like, no. Like, and I've seen how like the alcohol and this is just tearing them up because they don't want to let it go. They want to just keep playing with it, keep playing with it, keep playing with it. I see how my father was because he kept living in unforgiveness. And I'm like, I can't. I cannot. I don't want to live there. Like, and if I got to get like that,
It
nah,
ain't worth it.
again, I'm worth it. I'm worth not being that way.
Yeah,
I love me enough not to be like that. Like,
absolutely.
mm-mm. No, I can't do it. No. And some
Absolutely.
people would be like, oh, that's kind of self-centered. No, it's not. But you should be. Because again, it also comes back to my relationship with Christ. If I love Christ and I'm his and I'm honoring him, shouldn't I be loving me?
100%.
Shouldn't I
At
be taking care of me?
100%. At
Shouldn't I be trying to be the best me, best version, give out the best I can if I'm representing him?
yeah,
Because he gives me his best. Whether I receive it or not, that's something different. But he
whole
gives me
nother
his
subject.
best. So shouldn't I do it? Don't my
Absolutely.
kids deserve it? They're
Yeah.
they're my seed. So it's like those were the thoughts. Once I would read the word, once I would do those things, and those are the thoughts that started coming out. Those are the things that I started really thinking through and looking at and examining at. And some days I just be sitting there crying, just sitting there crying, and like, okay, that hurt, but it's okay. I remember one day I was able to call my mom and tell her, I love you and know that I forgive you for anything that you think you did or things that you don't even know you did. And she's like, what are you talking about? What did I do? I said, this ain't about that. I just needed to tell you. I just needed to tell you. You don't got to accept it. You don't got to think you did nothing. That's not what this conversation is about. I just need you to know that I love you and I forgive you. And I'm okay.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes that's a process that we have to go through for us. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, like I always say, forgiveness is for you, it's not for the other person. So while you're so hell bent on not doing it because you think they don't deserve it, you're the one that's in turmoil. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not about them deserving something, it's about you deserving the freedom to let it go. Because forgiveness is about the freedom of letting go of that issue that you have with that person, so that when you see them your heart don't go bent out of shape because of you're triggered by the sight of them, or
Mm-hmm.
triggered by their name or triggered by the circumstances. You want to be able to live your life in a space of freedom simply because you want to be free, healed, loved, and just moving forward. So I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you sharing your story with us, because people need to know it's possible. They also need to know that it doesn't take a whole lot to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It really
It
is a
doesn't.
decision. It ultimately is a decision to do so. You decide how your life unfolds
Mm-hmm.
with the decision. And just because you were born into a family that caused you wounds does not mean you have to live with those wounds in a broken state of mind. You
Mm-hmm.
can break free without being broken and still manage and live life even alongside that family that did the wounding.
Listen, I hug on them like nothing ever happened. And I think it's funny. I'll tell the stories. I know we're wrapping up. I had a couple of family functions that I had to go to over the last couple of months, the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And the way my family treated me, it was almost you'd have thought that they just saw me for the first time. I said, now hold on. I've been around y'all for how many years now? Why y'all acting like you just not seeing me? But then I had to think about it. They're seeing you healed. And
Mm-hmm.
healed you is completely different. Healed you, even the way you hold your head up, because I never was a person that was like hold my head down. Like I never was that type of person. But even the way I carry myself now versus then is different. So of course people gonna see different you. Of course you gonna look different. Of course they gonna double take like, hey. And I was just like, that's what healed is. It's different.
The energy is
Unhealed
different.
me wouldn't have did this podcast. I'd have been like, nah, girl, I can't do that. Mm-mm. But I wouldn't been on TikTok either.
Yeah.
That was also a part of my journey, a part of me healing, a part of me sharing my story, being
Yeah.
comfortable to share my story, being comfortable to say I was a teenage mom, being comfortable to say, yeah, my dad left, but it was okay. Being comfortable to say, hey, yeah, I know I might didn't do right by my kids all the time, or I may have traumatized them, or but it's okay. I asked them to forgive. Like being comfortable to say all of those things.
Yeah.
That is a freedom. Baby, listen, I'm never giving it up. I'm
Absolutely.
never giving it up. In soft
Well,
life, baby,
it's the
it's soft
best
over here.
life, right? Soft life is the best life. And it doesn't have to come from a man. It can definitely just come from within. So I want to say again, thank you for joining us. This has been another amazing episode. Remember, you guys, it all starts with you. As we say, love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus. And you are the blueprint. Sign self-love. Have a good one. We'll catch y'all next Tuesday.
Ta-ta.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.